Be a man. Be a real human being. Take responsibility for your actions. Take pride in your accomplishments. Understand that, yeah, it's okay to say, this is wrong. Absolutely, under no circumstances do I find this acceptable. I don't care if you call yourself a god or not. This is wrong. Mm-hmm. And until you break free of that, until you recognize that it's okay to do that, not only okay, it is essential. It is critical to the progress of humanity that people wake up from these delusions where they have sacrificed everything about themselves in order to walk lockstep with some dick of an authority that doesn't even exist. I mean, this is, somebody said, somebody on high said this, and I'm going to, it's not even like you're getting the instructions from anybody real.
And apologists bring up a lot of these red herrings. Like, well, I love this one. What objective moral standard do you use to tell you that your personal morals are more right than... And I always just hit them back with, well, what objective moral standard are you using to decide that what this God tells you is right or wrong is in fact right or wrong? And it always falls back on the same question. Well, then if God told you to do X, which you have already said you think is wrong, would you do it? If you say yes, then morality doesn't really matter to you. You're all about obedience to authority. And finally, last word on this, because let's get one more guy in here in the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, but, less than 7. But.
Every fundamentalist Christian that I've ever talked to says that salvation is by faith and not works. So, why do you even bring up morals at all? Because it really doesn't matter if that's the case. Morals are utterly irrelevant to Christianity and to your salvation if salvation is just by faith and not works anyway. So it's all a lot of hot air, any Christian argument for morality.
Yeah, when you start figuring out what morality really is and how you go about determining it, then you'll realize that there's all kinds of things about Christianity, including the idea of original sin or substitutional atonement or eternal punishment for finite crimes, all of which are utterly immoral. You're basically brought into a bunch of Bronze Age myths from people who couldn't think any better, and you're saying, I really can't think any better than them either. I can't think for myself. I just need to do what these old people said I need to do. The idea that they came to some grand understanding that we've somehow missed is one I find patently absurd and offensive. But we've got...
That's all the kind of,
Ed, I think. Ed in Austin, you there?
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for waiting. How you doing?
Hey, just one... Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, good. Just wondering, is there any physical non-Christian proof that Jesus Christ existed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, you mean like physical or documentary or...
Yeah, I guess non-Christian witnesses to...
Well, okay. It's pretty weak, but there's... I actually read an article recently in Skeptic magazine by Tim Callahan, who says that it's weak, but you could argue that some of it's there. For example, there is not the passage that we all know is faked, but there is a later passage in Josephus where he talks about James
the brother.
The execution of James.
Brother of Jesus.
Right. And he refers to James in this passage as James, the brother of Jesus, who was called the Christ. Now, when you read that, argues Tim Callahan, Josephus is not in this passage speaking as a Christian would and saying, and he was the Christ. He is simply saying, James was the brother of this man who was named Jesus, whom people referred to as the Christ. He's just stating that as a fact. There's also, I think, I don't know exactly what it is offhand, but there's a Tacitus. So it's weak.
The problem is that Josephus is not a contemporary.
Yeah.
Josephus wasn't born until after the reported death of Jesus.
Right.
So at best, he's telling you, this is what people believe to be true. And by and large, in a historical context, that's okay. It's okay when we say, and James the brother, Jesus the brother, Philip and Peter and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we seem to probably have a pretty good idea that we're pointing to somebody, some actual historical figure. But there is not currently any contemporary eyewitness, first-hand accounts of any event, including in the Bible. These were written at least decades later.
At least a generation, yeah.
So wow, I wonder why contemporary Christians don't really want to investigate that at all. And
you can't investigate it. That's the problem. And by and large, it doesn't matter because I'm okay with saying, yeah there's probably some historical guy at the center of these stories. Yeah. But does that mean that he was the Son of God who walked on water and healed people? Do the miracle claims stand up to investigation? And the answer is no, they don't. They don't even remotely.
The best that you can get from this very tiny fragmentary handful of non-biblical ancient sources is that, there was a guy who people believed was this Messiah.
We have 1 minute.
Okay. So, but that's it. That's all we got.
I apologize, Ed. We got 1 minute. Let me hit this real quick. Thanks, everybody, for coming. There's a list of the people in the studio. We'll be going to dinner, which I haven't mentioned, the whole show, at Threadgill's after this is over. You're welcome to join us. Anybody that come. There's more evidence and more eyewitnesses that you can actually talk to with regard to UFO abductions than there is for Jesus. But
Jesus flew the UFO.
We'll see you all again next week. Take care.
And don't forget the blog.
So we're like off the air or not? I have no idea. Everything's a mess here. How long? It took 20 minutes before one call or something?